Welcome in to a Christmas Eve edition of 4th and 4. I am Zach Kyleman, sitting in as always as we welcome you into this latest edition, the Week 16 version of 4th and 4. Boy, it's been a long year. The holidays are upon us, and some gift giving might be going around the NFL here sooner rather than later, as, again, that playoff push keeps creeping on up. We got a few more weeks left, but the end of the year is upon us, which means that playoff football is just around the corner. Let's bring in, of course, the crew that we have with us, my good friends all around here. Of course, DJ Stewart, Kelcey Coyne, and Jim Meunier. All three of my buddies in here for this week's edition. Guys, here we are. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whichever one you want to prefer there. Good to see you all. Hope your times are good and that you are having blessings of the season going well for you all as well. How we doing?
I just hope you guys are all staying warm out there as well too. Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully it's as warm as your house as the Lions have been for the last couple of months as well too. Otherwise, hopefully it's not as cold as everyone else.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I got to say, down in Alabama, down with the family right now. Everybody was worried it was going to be snowy and it was going to be ice on the roads and 0 degrees. Walked outside, it was nice, 20 degrees, nice and sunny. Man, I thought I was in paradise coming down. Obviously, you guys don't know, spend most of the year in Cleveland, just coming down for the holidays for visit family. So, glad I'm not in that Cleveland blizzard right now. That's safe to say.
Oh, you don't want to be part of this negative 40 degrees with wind chill. You don't want to have you go outside. It's like, good news, guys, is I can feel my face. Wow. Bad news is I kind of wish I couldn't feel my face.
Yeah, I wish I was. That's the time where you wish you're in the Weekend song where it's I can't feel my face when I'm with you. Like, yeah, 100%. Well, do not want to feel my face in that weather. Yeah, no, do not love.
Don't love it at all. Well, I will say I get some of the chill here, but it's probably I guess I'm lucky in this sense that I'm not dealing with any lake effect type of extra add-ons to this, because it is negatives, but it's only like -2, -1. That's reasonable for me. It does freeze up my mustache a little bit, but I can be fine. Go shovel the snow real quick. It wasn't thick. Came right back in. Now we're all nice and toasty in the house. The heater's working. That's all that matters right now. Nothing windy coming through. No draft.
Oh, good. Your eyelids aren't freezing together. Your tears aren't freezing midway down your face.
Hey, yeah. His islands aren't being winterified. That's for sure.
No, no, they're not.
Don't worry. My island picks have been winterized. We've been good. We're good so far. So
I hope to God they are.
Yeah. We've been baking in paradise lately.
Keep that train rolling. No joke about that. I mean, Jim, you're really kind of like Kelcey right now. You're a little bit of a chill wave down there in Florida, but nothing like us up here in the Midwest.
We just broke freezing temperatures just now. I look at the temperature on my computer. We're at 31. It's supposed to get down to 10.
Sounds like barbecue weather.
In Jacksonville, 10.
And my family's in Pensacola right now, and I can hear my mom screaming agony many of miles away.
Is that what those screams are that I hear in the background?
Is that what you're hearing?
I was wondering. I heard the cries of all the sorrowful beachgoers right now as it hits negatives. It hits 10 degrees. It's 20 degrees. I can imagine going out on that sand in 20-degree weather. That's no.
Right.
At least we hope that our listeners don't have a heater system that's compared to Zach Wilson's career right now. So they'll be freezing their asses off right now.
Maybe that's
he's lukewarm. I give Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's lukewarm. He was 50%.
It's 50%.
True.
50%.
Lukewarm. There's been worse quarterbacks in the league.
A crisp 9 of 18 with an interception.
What,
no
2?
Big deal.
What, Lamarcus Joyner? No, not Lamarcus Joyner. That's a defense back.
CJ Beathard is being number 1 in my books. Number 2 being any backup quarterback from 1998 to 2010 for the Cowboys.
Okay.
Jamarcus Russell?
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell.
Ryan Leaf?
Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf.
Either way, it's not the company you want to be.
Ryan Leaf's little brother.
It's getting rough out here.
No, it is. It certainly is rough. As we talk, Thursday nights, always got to bring them up here. We always like to prime things off with our first quarter, of course, with Thursday Night Football is kind of being that lead in. So as you can see, I think Jim segued this pretty well for our storylines of the week. Zach Wilson, here's the deal. Mike White, as it happened with his last stint, injuries caught up to him. Unfortunately, for some Jets fans, it seems, Zach Wilson stepped in. Now, I'll admit, came in week prior, had a reasonable start. At least put up some numbers. They had a tough loss, however, to Detroit. That being said, coming in this week, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into town. If you had one hot team, you, of course, had to get lined up with arguably the second hottest team in the NFL right now, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least in terms of catching what they needed to spark possibly a playoff run. We'll get to that in a second, Jim. I could see you're anticipating. I mean, you're dressed in garb for this show. You're ready.
I think he's just cold. I think this is what happens when it hits freezing in Jacksonville. You just go get whatever's on the clearance rack, and it's like you got all Jaguar stuff.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think that's bitterness from last Sunday.
No, trust me, it was not bitter. It was extreme excitement from last Sunday because I got that pick right. And ladies and gentlemen, continued my positive pick'ems. Actually, that one really helped out last week.
What do we make of Zach Wilson? So here's the deal. I think Robert Saleh, I think, has said all the right things in terms of I'm supporting the kid. We're giving him all the chances we can. We see a good quarterback here. I don't like but the thing that comes up, and this is the quote I think that's interesting in terms of this discussion, is the league is an instant coffee setup or instant coffee league now. Things have to be as soon as possible to get to success. And I think that's a debate in Eastern New York right now, or at least if you're one of the two teams from NYC and the Big Apple, is do you have that patience for another year, Zach Wilson? Or do you look at the QB market, which has I think there's a few reasonable options that maybe not trade for, but that could be on the free agent market that you can at least fill in and say, hey, this is a good defensive team with weapons. We just need a guy that doesn't screw it up when he gets behind center.
Yes, to all the above. No, seriously. So you look at it, and it is an instant coffee league. I mean, it's how quick can you make my instant coffee? How quick can you get to the league and get going as a quarterback? And unfortunately for Zach Wilson, I'm gonna be honest. Watching the game last night, I don't know how much of that was actually Zach Wilson being bad. There were three really bad passes that I can think of, but of the other 6 misses there, half of those are throwing it in the ground because there's nobody available to throw the ball to. He's being flushed out of the pocket because that offensive line is just, I mean, that was just terrible. And that defensive line for Jacksonville was getting after him. Josh Allen, I mean, I'm surprised he could have honestly probably had double-digit sacks if he wanted to. But yeah, I think it's one of those situations where he's not being helped out by his offensive line. Garrett Wilson running the wrong route on a couple of those passes too. When I say wrong route, I mean wrong depth. He's trying to run a curl, so you're supposed to come back to him instead of go to the outside shoulder. He's going to the outside shoulder, whereas Zach Wilson's going to the inside shoulder. That type of mix-up was bad. That's just down to timing. That's just down to having time with the quarterback. And it sucks, though, because then you have Strevelier coming in, and that offensive line starts firing off the ball, going forward constantly. And next thing you know, they're blocking and hitting all their blocks. I mean, if Strevelier was a better passer, they'd probably come back in this game and at least make it competitive. But, like, I don't know. I think it's whatever offensive playbook they ran with Strevelier. I feel like if they ran that with Zach Wilson, it would be a little more successful. Like, Zach Wilson would be a successful issue in New York. It wouldn't be like what we're seeing now, where he gets pulled at 50% completion rate with 4 throwaways, 3 bad passes, and a pass and a pass that got tipped at the line. Like, I don't know. I don't want to keep fighting for a kid that's like that. Like, that obviously has shown that he maybe just doesn't have it. Like, but at the same time, I think you should get a fair shake. And right now, I think everybody's too quick to pull the trigger on this one. This is like, I mean, he shouldn't have been starting to begin with, coming out of college. That should have never happened. He was such a fire starter coming into that final year. Like, you don't go from off the radar to top 10 quarterback in a season without still having a lot of issues. Like, you're still going to have a lot of issues that need to be ironed out. You shouldn't have started to begin with. Compared
to the other 2 top guys right now in terms of that class, which, they're
he's better than one of them. He's better than Trey Lance at this point in time.
Well, that's fair. I mean,
because
Lance,
he
I
can
think
at least stay on. He can at least stay on the field and give you 50% pass completions. Whereas Trey Lance can't even hit 50% pass completions and can't stay healthy.
Now, this is
So
why I'm
right
glad.
now,
This is why I'm glad you mentioned Lance, because I think part of my conversation piece with the terms of you look at your options next year. So a big Jimmy G is possibly going to be hitting that free agent market next season. So this is what's fascinating, because with Brock Purdy playing at least to a serviceable level right now, possibly slightly above what has been asked of him, I don't think the 49ers maybe as much look at needing to bring him back. So you have a slightly above 30-year-old quarterback that, again, had a reasonable season. He generally needs a team that has good talent around him,
which
good receiving talent around him as well.
They do.
I mean, that's I think what is the debate. Do you stay patient, or do you take your chances with just filling a need real quick and kind of, at least work on building your young depth into getting to the playoffs, getting a successful organization and culture built up where it's winning again,
The worst thing that ever happened to Zach Wilson was the Jets getting good. That's as weird as that is to say it that way as well too. They needed to suck more so he could develop more. Now when you go from the 32nd defense to a top 10 defense overnight, no one really saw that coming, which is incredible.
Number one to what is number one right now? Yeah.
And then you have your defense. You have the receivers that Elijah Moore is fantastic. Corey Davis is actually pretty healthy. Garrett Wilson is as good as advertised. Breeze Hall goes down. You have two other serviceable running backs on top of it as well. CJU is almost good enough tight end. Problem is they just got a little bit too good too quick. And you mentioned Zach Wilson should not have been starting, considering he had 2 years. One really good year went during the COVID year when they basically scrummed together just a bunch of scrubs, honestly. They didn't play any of the major schools, really, so they were basically beating up cannon fodder the whole year when he looked his best. Has one great throw on his pro day, catapults up to number 2, and then is starting from day one. He probably should have been a late first-round type of pick. He should not have been catapulted that high. And it kind of set him up to fail a little bit, but at the same time, some of those passes he's missing, it's like, sir, he's right there. You threw it over there when it should have been right here. And you ran that way when you should have sat right there with a clean pocket. Like, he confuses me sometimes watching play. I feel like it looks like a broken Xbox controller half the time. Where he's running for the left for no reason when the pass rush is there.
Perfect
sprinting
analogy.
and throwing it back up in the middle of the field, turning Garrett Wilson into, honestly, if they counted his pass breakups, he might be in contention with Sauce Gardner for most pass breakups half the time. So, and it doesn't help. Mike White's such a precision, accurate passer that fits it perfectly. So when you have a no-name guy behind him, basically, that does everything right that he doesn't, that makes it even harder. So I don't want to say you get rid of him, but I feel like his success story right now would be if he's Ryan Tannehill 2.0. I think he's the next Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty much gone at this point. His confidence looks shot too. So unless he's going to transfer his cougar hunting skills to the NFL field, I feel like he's got Ryan Tannehill 2.0, which still could be a successful playoff quarterback. Just not, I think his New York Times done, honestly. I think they should probably look to flip him and roll with Mike White at this point because he needs a fresh start, and they've clearly shown it's not working right now.
Yeah. Well, you can say his cougar hunting skills are bad because he lost to the two feline teams, the Lions and the Jaguars. I don't think they play the Panthers, do they? That will complete the trifecta. And what's an issue in New York when the fans are booing every time he throws a football, and you hear fans chanting other quarterbacks' names who were drafted after Zach Wilson. I heard Trevor Lawrence's name being chanted. I've heard Trey Lance. I heard Justin Fields all last night. That fan base is done with Zach Wilson. That is Mike White's team. And I don't know. Is there something with the contract with Joe Flacco? Like if he touches the field, they owe him like $1 billion.
I think so. I think he does have a stipulation in his contract to earn some extra money.
Because they showed him on the TV a couple of times last night. He's just like, get the guy in the game.
Right, that wouldn't be nuts to say just because Chris Streveler has been a practice squad / CFL QB in recent years, who just also got this deal this past season. So, I really think that right now they're kind of just trying. Look, it's a successful year for the Jets no matter what. Just getting to the point where they can be saying they're competitive with the Bills, the Dolphins, and for the most part, the Patriots. Really, if they flip those Patriots games, we could be talking about a whole different season right now. But nonetheless, I mean, that's going to be the big key, the big strategy next year for them, as we've all talked, is, I think you got to change up the room. Mike White's going to be most likely there. Flacco, I have to check his contract, but I don't think not as much. So I think you have to get younger at the position. You got to bring in, again, a stable guy. I'm telling you, Garoppolo, he might have some sort of a rate, but it's not going to be a break-your-neck type of rate to bring him in
Could be
to
19
basically
million.
say, look, we'll compete. You can be the anchor. You're probably going to be our front runner part 1 of 2 with Zach Wilson to start the year, but it's anyone's game. That's how I would approach it next season.
I have a hot
Got him.
take.
You can go ahead. Throw the
That's like,
steamer out.
That's like, I have a hot take. This is not going to be the Zach Wilson will be drafted again at number 2, but it won't be for the NFL. It will be for league lower, USFL or XFL.
Yeah, that was definitely something that has been going around. By the way, there's already fans that have put him as an XFL starting quarterback on his Wikipedia page.
Hey, you'd have fun. I'd say this. Like I think Zach Wilson. I think next year, going into next year, I think he competes for the job with Mike White. But I also think there's something to be said here with the LaFleur as his OC. I don't know what it is with the LaFleur brothers, but when it comes to coaching quarterbacks who don't really like to stay in a single spot, they seem to have trouble coaching them. At least in the first season. You look at Aaron Rodgers, obviously, guy that we know of, can stay in the pocket very well, but does his best work really kind of just sliding around the pocket as he pleases, as long as he doesn't have to stay stationary. And before that last knee injury, he did a great job escaping out of the pocket. But really, him and LaFleur didn't get along the first year. Now, LaFleur's brother, coaching Zach Wilson, who we all know loves to stay out of the pocket as much as possible, rolling out just similar to Justin Fields in a lot of ways. And this might be a case of, look at Justin Fields. He actually had a coaching staff work around him, whereas now LaFleur did not have. Whereas Wilson does not have a coaching staff working around him. And to DJ's point, it sucks when your defense goes from 32-1, and you're sitting here like, well, crap. I thought we had another year to develop. Like, what happened here? Because that's what we all said. When they got Zach Wilson, it's like, all right, you have 2 more drafts. If you hit it in the next 2 drafts, this team should be in the 3rd year rolling. Well, unfortunately, they hit it way too soon in that 2nd draft, and it has been absolutely rolling ever since, getting the hire of Saleh and everything. I think it was just too much too soon. But I also, again, I go back to the old saying with the issues that I had with Lamar when he first came in, the issues I had with a lot of those type of players who are more athletic, of coaches being too egotistical with their own systems, not wanting to change a system even just a little bit to help out a guy like Zach Wilson, who we all know loves to roll out. That's what his most prolific throws at BYU were him on the move. And yet you go here in the NFL, guess what? His most prolific plays as a passer in the NFL, him on the move.
I thought that I thought they had maybe turned a curve last week against Detroit. I mean, that was kind of what they were what he was doing a little bit in that contest was he was doing what his normal thing, threw 317 yards and 2 touchdowns. Accuracy still was a problem, but he was able to get out there and sling it the way he wanted to sling it. So it just makes you wonder. And you talk about changing systems. I relate heavily just from Justin Fields. It's been heavily documented that after that Commanders game, they basically just threw everything into the garbage and said, all right, we're just going to make him a runner, and if we got to pass, we'll pass. It's going to be safe, efficient stuff that keeps the drives moving. If we take a shot, we'll take a shot, but it's not going to be all the time, and we don't want the guy getting killed. So that's what they did. It kind of is a lesson, to maybe, that's the thing. Play to your strengths to start and then get them developing. Maybe you can change it up later if you need to, but, there is a case, I think, to be made of that as long as you got time and you don't have the patience to start draining away at is your other side of this.
And that's the problem. This is New York we're talking about. You talk about fans that are on a quick trigger. I hate New York fans. New York fans and Philly fans are the worst when it comes to sports because they will boo you the very moment you make a single solitary mistake. You could be Aaron Judge and you just barely miss hitting a home run to win a game and some massive let's just say against the Red Sox. You literally hit the wall against the Red Sox instead of hitting a home run. They're gonna boo you the next time up. Like that's how petty the New York fans are. Now, obviously, now they won't do that with Aaron Judge, but it's right. Miserable. It's like it's just watching fans like they booed him on a play where it was a fake screen to the halfback, turn around, throw to the tight ends for a screen. and he had a defender in his face, and he did the smartest thing I've ever seen a quarterback do, which is throw it at the feet of his tight end, who is also draped by two players. Like, get it out of your hands so you don't get sacked. 1, 2, don't get called for intentional grounding. 3, don't pick it up, don't let it be picked off. 4, don't let your tight end get killed. He did all of those things in one play in a matter of 2 seconds, and he got booed for it. It's like,
the worst part, it sounds like a stupid play call, even just how you describe it.
oh, it was the dumbest play. Honestly, it was the dumbest play call at the time, anyways. But coaches love their screens nowadays. So
I hate receiver screens. Just gonna lay that out there.
I hate all screens.
To me, they're one of the most annoying plays. You have to have everything go perfect, and the receivers have to know how to block right to actually pull it off. And there are teams like my own with the Bears. They will run it like it's like the best damn thing since sliced bread, and it works less than half the time.
And whoever catches the screen needs to be a very good ball carrier with good vision to set up and read those blocks. Oftentimes you see him throwing it to the 6'4" teabagging receiver, and it's like, all right, make some moves in open space. It's like, this isn't what I do. I jump over people. The one thing I'll say about the Zach Wilson situation to wrap it up as well, too, is if they do look for another quarterback, a fun name to maybe throw into that QB room, maybe Baker Mayfield if he's out on the market as well, too. A lot of talk about Baker and the Jets before that draft, before he went number 1. Not saying he gets the job, but to throw him into that competition could be very interesting. Broadway Baker taken over by Storm.
He would fit the system. And I think also we'll add in, like, I think the Breece Hall injury is also the worst thing to happen to Zach Wilson this season, because Breece Hall was absolutely destroying teams, and then all of a sudden you go from that to, all right, you have James Robinson who's carrying the ball well, Michael Carter carrying the ball well, and Zonovan Knight carried the ball well for one game, but like the last 3 games it has been not great from the running backs to say the least. So Breece Hall, when he comes back, I think that helps out every quarterback that walks in that room, but Zach Wilson especially.
Absolutely. A lot of answer. I mean, Breece Hall, that's kind of the forgotten portion of this whole thing. James Robinson, that's the shame. As a fantasy owner, that one, it hurts, but it just seems like I was amazed. He got a second chance in New York, and it still has been a massive drop off. I can't fully grasp what the issue is there, besides maybe roster depth plus just not fitting well with what's going on with the Jets. But that one's a shame. The guy's clearly talented. It's just things have not been clicking this year.
No, it's rough. And also, you want to talk about injuries. Look, you got Elijah Vera Tucker, IR, Cedric Ogbuhe, IR, Max Mitchell, reserve non-football injury list, and he was out with blood clots. So Mekhi Becton, Greg Senat, all those guys coming into the season were projected. Pretty much all of them were projected to start, except for Ogbuhe. And now, he was the backup that came in to help out, and he got injured. So, you look at it. This team, it surprises me they're doing so well considering the injuries. But for Zach Wilson, it would have had to been absolutely perfect this season for him to have been successful. And we see it's not.
He's not getting that 5th-year option at this rate. That's for sure.
No.
Mm-hmm. Before I get this final topic of the show, and this last one will be pretty quick, I want to get Jim's thoughts here. Look, Jaguars are, as we talk, second highest team possibly in the NFL, only behind Detroit, who they did lose to. Nonetheless, though, I gotta be honest. I think unless I'm maybe crazy, and I don't want to speak for anyone here, but playoff hopes are looking pretty good, my friend. Got anything to say on that?
I don't want to jinx it, but we control our own destiny, and we got to go play Houston at Houston, which we have lost 9 in a row against Houston. We were Houston's only 2 wins last year. We're Houston's only win this year, so Houston's key. But Tennessee has issues. I think they've given up in Tennessee, and for me, I still have hatred for that team from '99. And for a lot of Jaguar fans down here,
let go.
We want.
I hate it because it was like 2 years into our existence. Oh no.
We were pretty dominant when we were
Damn you,
early.
Mark Brunell.
Let it go.
No,
How dare the newly founded Titans take my heart?
Yeah, they will always be the Oilers to me. But yeah, it's vibing, and with this stretch we're seeing is the rise of Lawrence. He has escalated his game from earlier this year to now. he is what a lot of people say he was supposed to be, the best quarterback in that draft, and he's showing it. He made some plays last night that you look at, go, well, he's on. You put him in the right position. He still does dumb plays. Every quarterback does. Mahomes does. But he's making plays where he wasn't doing that last year under Urban Meyer. He wasn't doing that last year's team. He's putting people in good position, and it does also helps when Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones Jr. are getting up. And the rejuvenated, what he put in his Twitter account last night. I hate this city. Is glad that showed out Evan Ingram. He was asked by a reporter in Jacksonville, how does it feel being back in New York and getting a win? He goes, it feels effing great. And he's like, I'm heading back down south. So Lawrence has weapons that are performing for him. And our defense is starting to turn around the corner. We lost Smoot today, the torn Achilles. So the Achilles streak of that stadium continues at MetLife for not just Jaguars, for a lot of teams. It's become an issue where the NFL is actually might investigate, telling them to change their field. That's how bad it is up in New York. But so far for Jags fans and for me, you're telling me that we're in playoff contention in December after going freaking 3-15 last year. I'm happy. It's exciting. Got to get over there. They get by the Texans. I think they beat the Titans and they make the playoffs, and most likely lose in the first round because there's no way they're going to go toe to toe with Baltimore or on fire Chargers team. They have too much firepower. But then again, we did beat those two teams. So right now, you got one game at a time as what they won in the game, one win at a time. So Texans are next week. It's a good weekend. And if the Texans win this week in Tennessee, hold up. Hold on, boys. It's a tie for the top of the division. So, yeah. Pretty exciting down here in Jacksonville. It's nice. The game for Tennessee in 2 weeks has already been sold out.
Minus the fact it's 20 degrees. And I hope to God I feel so bad that if it's freezing in that stadium in Jacksonville, that I feel bad for the people sitting on top. They have to walk up those 17,000 flights of ramping.
I preach, brother. I hate those fucking.
Such a terrible stadium. I'm going to continue to preach that every time we talk about that Jacksonville stadium. It's the worst
awful,
stadium,
man.
I've ever been to.
Lower bowl is perfect. It's like this. It's like upper bowl.
Yes. So and to get there, it's like, oh, okay, so the first two ramps are not bad. Like the first two ramps in class, like maybe like this. Those next three ramps are like, you're going like this up these ramps. And I'm just like, nah. I can roll down these, but I'm not rolling up them.
Calves are dying, man.
It's like a 20 degree, 50 degree.
It's enough where I looked at it and I second guessed my choice to go watch a football game. And I've never second guessed my choice to go watch a football game.
I'd rather pay the extra $100 to be in the lower bowl.
Jim, I will say before I get this final segment or final portion, just to kind of wrap in, great laugh you gave me this week. The Titans saying that playoff tickets are being on sale now, or you can start reserving them. And I love the response of bold of you to assume you're going to be making the playoffs at this rate.
Local radio here in Jacksonville, by NFL rules, if your team is within a game of a division lead 2 weeks out for the playoffs, they have to technically put playoff tickets on reserve.
I mean, that's fair, but it still is one of those things.
But the Titans
just got to laugh.
But the Titans have had it on, like, order your playoff tickets for 3 weeks now, and they've been on a 4-game losing streak.
Hey,
but still,
somebody has hope in that ticket office.
The thing is I've watched so many Titan videos on YouTube. That fan base, they want it to end. They're like, it's done. They don't trust Willis. They don't trust Henry. They don't trust that defense. They're done in Tennessee.
I'm sure there's a team there in New York that would love Malik Willis.
An uprising in King Henry's court. Sorry, what?
Yeah, that doesn't exist. Let's be honest. There's too many fans that are Titans fans.
and also last night the Jaguars, again for the second consecutive season, eliminate the Indianapolis Colts from the playoffs.
That's not entirely true. The Colts eliminated themselves for the last 12 weeks. They just kind of put the stamp on it.
Jim had the one cocked and loaded. He was just waiting.
Back fourth quarters. That's eliminating yourself now.
Well, me and DJ had our conversation last night. It's like you don't have to worry about the playoffs now, DJ. Now then he replies back, "Don't win games."
Blessings. He replied back, "Blessings."
I'm cutting this here. DJ gets to get his moment. We're moving on. The quarter's over, folks. Let's get into some money talk here. DJ, it's your time to shine as always, my friend. It's quarter number 2 betting odds presented by Outlier, and of course we'll get to DJ's best bets as well. Take it away, my friend.
Can't get a better intro than that as well, too. This week, we're going to talk about winning some money, something that the Colts do not do a whole lot this year as far as winning goes. So we're going to make up for that and win some money this week as well. We've had a pretty good run so far throughout the year, especially on our individual game bets as well, too. So we're going to start with what should be a fun one. We're looking at the Seahawks versus the Chiefs. And I don't know about you guys, but I smell a lot of points in this game coming up because neither defenses are necessarily known for stopping a whole lot. But what I'm going to go with is I'm going to say the Hawks cover that 10-point spread. For no other reason, I think they'll put up points in bunches. I think Kenneth Walker is going to be get the ball on the ground a lot. And I do see DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett getting loose plenty. So give me the Seahawks to cover a 10-point spread. Zach, we'll go to you first. What are we looking at for the Chiefs and the Seahawks?
I'm sorry, I do have my own betting, but Jim wanted to distract me with his usual name games he's playing on the corner. Look, I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking through for this one here for Seahawks Chiefs. I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks covering that said spread. I don't see us being a double-digit blowout here. I think the Seahawks are in a tougher out than most, even with them having a rough end of the season schedule. I think you can keep up. Also, I feel like Kansas City has been kind of lackadaisical as of late. We did. It was a 3-point or a touchdown contest that went to OT against the Texans. I think that you should be able to keep it within at least one score, maybe within that 2-score stretch, but under the double-digit lead mark. So give me Seattle covering the spread. If you want to add extra, I think they go with the over here. I think they hit over 49.5 on the day between the two.
All right, Zach and I both feeling covering the spread as well, too. It looks like we expect a lot of points as well, too, to keep it close. Jim/KC plus, what are we looking at for this game with Chiefs versus Seahawks?
Well, Zach took my my bet, so I'm going to just say this game, take the over. I think a lot of offense is going to be in this game, so take the over in this one.
Always a safe bet to take the over when the Chiefs and Seahawks are involved, which means we're going to get a 3-6 game because we keep saying that as well, too. Kelcey, I'll let you go and round out this game. Where are we placing our money this week?
Well, I really hope it's not a 3-6 game with what I'm going with. Over the last 10 games, Geno Smith has scored or has thrown for 2 touchdowns or more, 8 out of the last 10. So I'm going to go Geno Smith with yet another 2 touchdown or over 1.5 passing touchdowns, which is a plus 120 odds.
100%. I think we all feel pretty safe with that one, unless for some reason defenses show out in a way we have not seen from either one this year as well, too. So should be a high-scoring, fun game. Next, we're going to go to what could potentially be the coldest kickoff time of all time as the Saints take on the Browns. This one, I took a bet on this one before it got freezing cold, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going with the boost where it says Deshaun goes for over 200 passing yards and 30 rushing yards. It was a boosted up to 500 odds. I felt much better with it before it was negative 40 degrees with wind chill, and it looks like it's going to be an incredibly cold kickoff time. That being said, I'm still going to stick with it, especially the rushing yards. I think he'll get that comfortably, and one random Amari Cooper broken touchdown can get you real close to those 200. So we're going to stick with that one as well, too, and what is expected to be an extremely cold game with what I imagine will be empty stands because I am not going out in that. Kelcey, I'll go to you with this one first. Saints versus Browns, freezing cold temperatures just on the other side of the wall. How are we feeling?
I'm gonna go with Nick Chubb to have a great day today, and Nick Chubb to score 1 touchdown at any time. Plus 100 odds for this one, but look, somebody's gonna have to score some sort of touchdown at this point in time, and my best odds are on the locomotive that could in Nick Chubb.
It feels like that is always a safe bet, even through his struggles. Always bet on Nick Chubb. So, Jim, we'll go to you for this one. What are you feeling for the Saints and the Browns taking place in the Iceland of Hoth?
It's usually very cold in Hoth, and Luke Skywalker's not going to be there to save both these organizations. So a team's going to score a touchdown, but the wind's going to be so bad they're going to miss the extra point. So it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm saying 6-2 type of situation. Yeah, you heard me right, 6-2. Take the under. That's what I got. Take the way under. I don't even think they're going to. I think the fine swords.
I want to know how they're getting the 2 points.
Safety.
That's no. Yeah, obviously. But, like, how does the safety happen? Is it like a bad snap at the 30 that just trickles into the end zone? Like, is that what we're doing here?
Going for a punt and the catcher can't catch it, or the punter can't catch it because it's like 50,000 pounds of ice and it flies right behind them into the end zone.
Stone hands.
Nah, guys, I'm just going for it. Stefanski, he's just going to go for it every down.
4th and 21, I'm going for it. All right.
And that's outside playoff shop. I have nothing to lose.
And that's where the 200 pass yards and 30 rush yards will come in, because those 4th and 20s, he'll get 19 every single time. He'll get real close, but no cigar. Zach, we'll go and have you round out the Ice Bowl here as well, too. What do you see playing out in this Saints versus Browns game?
I was looking around, and it's been a minute since I've caught a stat line that I went, you know what? It's pretty good odds for something I think that's pretty reasonable to happen. Plus 165 for Deshaun Watson to throw an interception. I say yes to those odds. That is Caesar Sportsbook, by the way. I'm slapping that one on just by itself. It has been 2 of the last 3 games he's thrown at least 1 pick. Keep in mind, dude's also, as much as it's been 3 games, he's rusty. He's still going to throw an interception in my mind, and it's a colder game. It might have that ball slip just a little bit. I take those odds for plus 165. It's totally worth it. I think that's a great choice for there if you want to go for something that high up.
Plus odds for any interception in this game. I feel good with that, even if he wasn't rusty. I mean, that ball just might bounce off somebody's face because he's throwing a cannonball at that point.
So DJ, are you going to be prepared to go get your tauntaun, and if you have your lightsaber or anything, like if you go out in that way, since you're going to be on Hoth.
I'll be ready. Don't you worry.
Instead of a truck vandalizing First Energy, it's going to be Tauntaun tracks.
Tauntaun tracks on a lightsaber through Brownie the elf right in the middle of it as well. All right, before we get lost in the galaxy far away on this tangent here, we're going to go and round out this betting to get us going. So last game we have is an AFC South battle. The Texans taking on the Titans. For this one, no Ryan Tannehill. The Texans being the Texans. I'm going to go with the under. The under was set at 35.5. I think we got 10-10 or 10-12 type of game going on here. Lovie Smith has shown, despite all the Texans' woes, they play pretty good defense overall. And I know no Dameon Pierce, so I don't trust them to score points either. It's going to be a heinous game offensively, I imagine. Derrick Henry will be the one bright spot, maybe 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that'll be the only scoring overall. So we'll go to Jim for this one first. Texans, Titans, how are we feeling?
Texans almost beat the Chiefs. Texans almost beat the Cowboys. The Titans do not have those offenses. Texans upset the Titans, taking the Texans.
Texans with the
That's a whole lot of today, juniors.
Tantalizingly touchy topic.
All right, and Zach, how are we feeling? Texans versus Titans, how are we feeling?
So I'm going to start out here, and you might pause me. I'm going with a second interception bet. Over half, plus 114 from Malik Willis. Yes, please. I am taking that one as well. But you're noticing something. Where's the kicking bet, Zach?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Where's the kicking bet? And I'm going to tell you, all the options I was searching here, first things first, I don't have a free trial to Outlier right now, so that's part of the deal. But nonetheless, Caesar Sportsbook is failing me this week. Our options don't have really good odds, and there's many games that don't have them listed yet. But I found one that's totally worth it. Michael Badgley over 2.5 extra points made to get a plus 136. Remember, they're playing the Carolina Panthers. I think the Lions keep that hot streak up and score 3 TDs if I were you, my friend. So that's my extra one I'm giving over, a fourth one. But I had to do it. I can't go without a kicking bet, so I had to pick one.
I was gonna say, I mean, we need to get an extra little, stocking stuffer in there or something for your kicking bet.
That's the stocking stuffer. Michael Badgley will be your betting stocking stuffer for this weekend.
That was close.
We're going to call this betting segment the glow stick right now with the way Zach's spending the rules right here to get an extra one in there as well, too. But we got everything we needed as well, too. And by the way, if you want your own free trial for Outlier, go and click the link Outlier.bet/HighLowSports. Get yourself a free 7-day trial as well, too. Don't be like Zach. Be fully prepared as well, too.
Be better than me, people.
Be better than Zach. You guys heard him. So, Kelcey, we'll go ahead and let you round this one out. Texans and Titans, what are we looking at?
I'm going with a surprise touchdown, anytime scorer, and that is Malik Willis to rush one in, because we all know he's not going to throw one in, but he does have an opportunity to use Derrick Henry as a decoy.
What's going to be great is when Derrick Henry throws him a touchdown and it still counts, but it's the way nobody fully anticipated as well, too. They do the Tebow jump pass and Malik Willis lined up at tight end.
Mike Vrabel as a coach, it's anything is possible for the Titans.
Anything besides the conventional passing offense.
Derrick Henry's going to prolong his career because he'll eventually evolve into a quarterback 30 plus after. So he avoids the running back curse. He becomes like a Geno Smith archetype. I'm just
more accurate than Zach Wilson.
Most running backs turn into a goal line back at the back end of their career. He'll turn into a goal line quarterback at the end of his career. But instead of running him in, he's just going to throw lasers. All right, that's going to do it for our individual game bets. Now we're going to roll into DJ's best bets, once again brought to you by our good friends over at Outlier once again as well, too. Don't be like Zach. Click the link and get a free 7-day trial. For our best bet parlay, what we're looking at today is Our first one, I like a Taysom Hill anytime touchdown as well, too. They are playing the Browns. It's going to be freezing. I like the idea of Taysom Hill finding a way to cross the end zone line as well, too. It's not like the Browns are known for their stellar defense this year. And Andy Dalton, he did play in Cincinnati for a while, so he's used to Colts. So I think he'll get them close, and Taysom Hill could punch one in almost by accident because of the weird love affair the Saints have with him. Next one, the Raiders are actually underdogs against Pittsburgh this week as well, too. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Raiders to win this one outright and get the money line as well, too, with some plus odds. And then with the Giants, I like the idea of Saquon Barkley scoring not just one, but I could see him scoring 2 touchdowns this week as well, too. He had a pretty decent game last week against Washington. We're going against Minnesota this week, one of the top 2 seeds, but not because of their defense by any means whatsoever. They actually let the Colts put up 33 on them at one point. So that's how you know it's not going to be – there's going to be a lot of opportunities to score. So give me Saquon Barkley getting 2 touchdowns as well, too. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our betting odds, looking at plus 31, 117 odds. So bet $1, win about 32 as well, too. Long odds, but I feel like this will be the week we finally hit on all 3 of them. But that was going to do for betting. We're going to slide things over to Jim, and we're going to talk about fantasy football. You're in your playoffs. You got some key decisions to make. Fantasy starts and sits. Jim, take it away.
Welcome to semifinals in some leagues and championships in other leagues, or in me and Zach, consolation bracket finals.
Yes.
So we're going to do this and get this. Okay. Show whatever. Fantasy football stinks for me this year, I swear. Let's get going with the quarterback situations for playoff push, or you're in the playoffs. David Carr against Pittsburgh, or Geno Smith, Pro Bowler Geno Smith against Kansas City. Kelcey, who you start, who you sit?
It's not going to be David Carr, that's for sure. I'm taking between Derek Carr.
Oh, Derek Carr, my bad. Why I said David? Sorry.
Nobody wants those sack numbers on their roster.
But like Lander Jones.
Yeah, between the 2 there, I think I'm actually going to take Geno Smith here. Good opportunity to have some passing touchdowns in this one, and you need a guy that's going to have some kind of boom to him. The Raiders, I don't know what's going on with their offense this season, so I'm not going to bet on their offense to do me any good in the playoffs.
DJ.
Yeah, I'm going to take Geno Smith as well. We talked about a shaky-ish Kansas City defense, and for the Raiders offense, it literally 70% of the yards goes through Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. So I see Josh Jacobs hoarding a lot of those yards, and if they double-team Devontae Adams, I don't know what they're going to do. So give me Geno Smith for the comfort factor.
Zach.
Yep, going with Geno Smith, man, continuing this excellent comeback player of the year-esque archetype season. Man is on a tear. I know he had a bump, at least a bump in the road 2 weeks ago, but I'm sticking with the theme on high-scoring game ahead. This is one that I think he'll get you some good points fantasy-wise, too.
And sticking with the running backs this time around, 2 teams are battling for playoff positioning. Can't believe I'm saying that about Tennessee, but that's true. Najee Harris against Carolina, and Derrick Henry against the Houston Texans. Zach, who you start, who you sit?
Look, I know it would be easy to kind of read the room, and you would think Houston could prepare all week long. We know Derrick Henry. We know we can stop him. But look, odds are in the favor of the Tennessee Titans, and so are trends. The Texans can't stop Derrick Henry for what it's worth the last few years. Even this year, their last meetup, he came in. That was what kind of sparked him to have his normal, usual, high-quality season so far. He's going to have another 100-plus yard game, and I think at least a touchdown on you. You got to go with him. The Panthers also not too shabby of a defense for Najee Harris to have to worry about. So, yeah, I would go with Henry for the volume and the better matchup.
DJ.
Derrick Henry has 5 consecutive games of 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Texans. He is a bully in the biggest sense of the words, and that he's been stealing the Texans' lunch money for the greater part of the last 2 years. Even if there's a little bit of an uprising in King Henry's court, as we mentioned earlier as well, too, I still feel pretty comfortable with Henry getting his regardless. So give me Derrick Henry in this one.
Kelcey.
Yeah, to continue off of that Derrick Henry trend, last 2 games, over 100 yards and a touchdown each. Also chipped in over 30 yards receiving as well in the last 2 games. So pretty impressive numbers for Derrick Henry. And you talk about Najee Harris struggling all year, mid-tier running back, whereas Derrick Henry, second in the league in rushing yards. Got to go with Derrick Henry on this one. If I'm in the playoffs, I need the guaranteed points here.
And talking about guaranteed points, the other position of need is wide receiver. So we're going to have 2 teams again in the mix of the playoff picture. Jalen Waddle going up against Green Bay, and A.J. Brown going up against Dallas. Kelcey, speaking of Dallas, you get the first dibs on this one.
Yeah, so this one's tougher because Green Bay, we all know the weather there, with Miami going to Green Bay and playing in there. That's going to be a tough one. But Dallas is not an easy place, or an easy team to go up against as far as defensive statistics go. AJ Brown's going to be marked pretty closely by Trayvon Diggs, and they match up very well together body wise. And AJ Brown has not been successful against Trayvon Diggs, so therefore I'm going Jalen Waddle against Green Bay, and this one to me is going to be a toss up between the two of them because they are. It really is going to be down to which one can have kind of that reception that they can break off for a touchdown. I think Jalen Waddle has that better opportunity against Green Bay's defense this year.
DJ.
I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle as well, just because I'm not 100% sure about how A.J. Brown and Gardner Minshew are going to click now that he'll be starting this week. And your first game starting this year, and you get to go against the Cowboys, sometimes hellacious defense. If they're on their A game, then it could be a pain. It could be difficult, but I'm going to stick with Jalen Waddle just because he has a starting quarterback right now. It's a close one. I agree. It's a toss-up. I'll stick with Jalen Waddle. Maybe he squeaks a late touchdown or something like that.
Zach.
I got to pair at DJ on this one. Same deal. Minshew being in totally throws a curveball on this decision. I also think if you're Jalen Waddle in terms of an owner for Waddle, Tyreek Hill helps you a ton here because at least you don't have to deal with Zaire Alexander having to shadow you the entire time. I'm going to go with Waddle. I mean, he has a cohort on the opposite side that basically gives him chances to make more opportunities possible, and he's got his starting quarterback that was a Pro Bowl snub throwing it on the opposite side.
The Eagles do have a starter on the other side, Devontae Smith. They just refuse to throw on the ball 90% of the time. But I digress.
Well, they did last week, but credit, that was the Bears. You can throw on them most times.
They just ignore the fact that he's wide open all the time. Like, no, too skinny. He might not catch this. He's wide open. The wind
he might snap in half.
He was a Pro Bowl alternate, so he got enough catches to be a Pro Bowl alternate. So let's not get carried away here.
Just imagine what do you do if they targeted him.
Yeah,
it's true.
And getting into our flex category, Darius Slayton against Minnesota, Keenan Allen against Indiana. Kelcey, who you got?
Well, against the whole state of Indiana, I don't know if Keenan Allen can beat him, but thankfully he's only going against the Colts in this case. Whereas Darius Slayton, we've talked about it all, pretty much Darius Slayton's entire NFL career, struggles to catch the ball and hold on to it. Minnesota, look, despite everything Minnesota does have still a pretty decent set of cornerbacks out there. I'm going to go Keenan Allen in this one. I just think Indianapolis is kind of already, they just got eliminated. At this point in time, they're trying to play spoiler, but they're not healthy in the cornerback room. So Stephon Gilmore is going to have to choose Mike Williams or Keenan Allen in this case. And it wouldn't surprise me if he actually ends up on Mike Williams and they try to do the double team Keenan Allen situation. But yeah, I'm going to go Keenan Allen to have a better game than Darius Slayton in this one.
Zach.
Yeah, I got to go Keenan Allen. Dude's been getting 6+ receptions a game, over 86 yards plus for the last 3 games since he's been back in. If you're a PPR guy alone, that's great numbers. And honestly, if you need a flex option, I mean, you're set up right there. That's pretty solid numbers. He's possibly up for touchdowns. They're getting that chemistry back together, and it's the Colts who have been reeling as of late. Yeah, maybe you got to deal with Stephon Gilmore, but I don't know if that's every snap over there against Stephon Gilmore. Darius Slayton's also on an offense that really runs through Saquon Barkley first. Give me Keenan Allen.
DJ.
One of two things is going to happen in this game. The Colts are going to come out like gangbusters, and the Chargers are going to be playing from behind, and that's going to while they come back from a 25-point deficit and win the game, which is going to lead to a lot of opportunities. Or they're going to ramrod them so fast, and everybody's going to eat, and Keenan Allen's going to eat as well too, right out of the gate. Either way, I like the potential volume for him as well too, and they'll get plenty of opportunities because the Colts offense is not moving the ball. They're not going anywhere. They're going to run into a brick wall and fall down. So by pure potential alone, he'll give you like 8 catches for 80 yards just because he'll get so many opportunities, even if he doesn't score.
A+ for the use of ramrod, by the way. I haven't heard that one thrown around in a while.
That was a polite way of saying what's going to happen.
Let's also not forget that Brandon Staley does not kick the ball. He is allergic to kicking field goals. So when it comes down to it, he's going to get great opportunities offensively at least 4 downs every time.
And I do think Stephon Gilmore is going to be chasing Mike Williams. I think that's a smart bet, and basically because he's the big play guy. I'd make Keenan Allen dink and dunk his way down the field, which is still good for fantasy.
Yeah, still gets me 100 yards. Thank you.
And wrapping up this week with the defense side of the ball, Arizona against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Bills against the Chicago Bears. DJ, you started us off with this one.
Yeah, give me the Bills on this one because as much as Tampa Bay's kind of reeling, there is nothing about that Cardinals offense led by Trace McSorley right now that scares me, and Tampa Bay's not worried either, which means that that defense is going to be on the field a whole lot. And against the Bears, unless Justin Fields is entering God mode, which he has done a lot this year, I think the Bills are going to have plenty of opportunities for maybe like a fumble, a sack, a takeaway, something like that as well too. So give me the Bills in this one.
Kelcey.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bills in this one. They're just too good of a defense. They're rolling on all cylinders right now. And look, that secondary and especially that safety pairing and Tre'Davious White being back now.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Justin Fields is going to have to do all the heroics with his feet. The Bills are going to rack up some easy points in this one.
Zach.
Paper scraps is what the Chicago Bears are working with, by the way. They also don't have Equanimous St. Brown. Chase Claypool's still not in. Darnell Mooney's on IR. I mean, I could keep going down the list of basically people that are being sent to the medical bay. Medical, yeah, Herbert's returning, but I mean, they're going to expect the run. That's what the Bills are going to be ready for. I'm going with the Bills. It's all lining up Buffalo right now. You got to take them. Arizona's reeling in their own right, and Tampa Bay has the prime opportunity to basically put a stranglehold on their division against an opportune opponent. Give me Buffalo.
Like they said, nothing's like something's no shit. I just messed that up.
Nobody,
no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. There we go.
Yeah, I knew exactly where you're going with that.
Bam, bam, smacks. So, boom, pick of the week this week, ladies and gentlemen, to get this going. For the Washington Commanders, to stay alive in the postseason, this man, Tyler Heineke, needs to go off. Can the XFL hero continue the successful, shocking season of the Commanders in their playoff push for this season? So Taylor Heineke. Now let's get to the fourth quarter and pick'ems for Week 16 of the National Football League. Kelcey, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. It's my favorite time of the week, and if you don't know why, well, it's because I'm not in last place anymore. I'm tied for last place now after a fantastic week, which saw Jim somehow keep up with me. I don't know how he managed this one, but 13-2, I managed to pull off a great week last week. Jim had a 12-3 record. DJ and Zach, though, kind of doing their own battle there, still at the top, 9-6, tying up the week, which gives us this season's records. DJ still on top, 128, 77-2. Zach right behind him by a game, 127, 78-2. And then Jim and myself at 121, 84-2. Closing in on the top guys, but really we're still doing battle amongst ourselves right now, trying to get out of this fourth place, whatever we want to call it right here. We're trying to get out of the cellar. So it's going to be very interesting to get there. DJ, how are you still holding on to this lead? I got to ask.
Because Zach refuses to come back on me. He's letting me hang around before he sweeps it in the last week. He's keeping it interesting. He's a diabolical plotter right now. There's so many like conspiracy theorist boards right behind the clock behind him as well too. There's a lot he's hiding from us. He has a plan. He's just teasing me at this point.
Zach, is this all part of your master plan?
It's behind the curtain, guys. I've been holding this back. Clearly, I've let him slide back in just to rip his heart out in week 18. That's all I'm doing. Or I'm letting all of you catch up to where we bundle up, and then I just sucker punch all of you now on week 18 slate of games.
Me and Kelcey right now are like the Jaguars and Lions. We're on fire trying to catch up to the division leader. So,
it's on fire. Now you're on fire for 1 week now. Let's hold on there now, Cowboy. Like on fire. You got to do that 2 weeks.
Look, I've had one bad week in the last 5 weeks.
3.
Hey, I was 10 games below 500 at one point this season, so give me a break
compared to the previous.
Anyways, all right, so we're going to move ahead with this week's primetime pick'ems. We're not going to do all 3 of the primetime games that they technically are listed as. We're going to change it up. We're going to actually go with some playoff impact ones. So we're going to start here with the 49ers taking on the Commanders. Now, we all are going 49ers, but there is that chance that Taylor Heineke and those Commanders can make a run on this one. DJ, do you think the Commanders have what it takes to potentially score what could be considered an upset over the Niners?
Yes, and this was actually a tougher pick than I thought it would be as well, too, especially with Chase Young playing this week as well, too. Granted, will probably be in very limited time. They have something to play for. The 49ers they're like, well, maybe we could steal that 2 seed, but it's fine. So I think there's a very, very good chance this one's as close to a toss-up as much closer to the toss-up than you see based on the circumstances, but it's hard to pick against the 49ers the way Nick Bosa and that defense is playing.
Fair enough. Zach, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo in this one is going to actually play any meaningful time, or do you think they're still going to kind of just wait and see?
I think they wait and see. Honestly, they do have more of a seat. I mean, they got seating to keep up with. That's their main thing. But look, to me, it is much like DJ, where it was tougher because I could see the Commanders pulling this off out of a desperation factor, knowing that they've got at least the Detroit Lions nipping at their heels right now in the background, and the fact they have that tiebreaker not on their side if they do take that loss. So Riverboat Ron will, I think, pull out all the stops in this one. And especially if it's, say, Brock Purdy jumps in, Chase Young being back only helps trying to see if he can throw him off his game any sort of way for this game, for this contest.
Fair enough. Jim, Commanders, Taylor Heineke obviously has had an impressive season, to say the least. He kind of fits the perfect mold for the Commanders. If you're the Commanders, do you try to still replace him next year? Do you try to go back to Carson, or do you stay with Taylor Heineke?
I think you shop in the market. Honestly, I feel that'd be too far back in the draft to get after one of the premier guys coming out in this year's draft. If Taylor Heineke, I think, proves himself that he can get a 2-year contract and just be like the backup, but for a long-term starter, it's a good story. But no, I think the Commanders will be shopping this offseason.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to move on. We're going to go to the next game pretty quickly. Cardinals versus Bucks. This one's really here just for the Buccaneers, because we all know the Cardinals are out of this one, and we're all going Buccaneers. So I honestly don't need to ask anybody any questions, but I'm going to ask a very blanket question. One word. Do the Cardinals somehow pull off an upset with insert quarterback here?
No.
All right. Good answer.
Maybe it's high, but I even doubt that.
Conserving my breath to not waste too much on that answer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair, because we actually have a split decision here on this next one, and this one is very impactful for the NFC. We're looking at the Cowboys versus the Eagles here. We're both splitting this one. Zach and DJ both going Cowboys. Jim and myself going Eagles. Obviously, Gardner Minshew taking the reins under this one. However, Gardner Minshew is a winning quarterback as an Eagles quarterback. Does that mean he continues his winning streaks? Jim, I'm going to ask you, because obviously you picked the Eagles. Do you obviously think Gardner Minshew is going to be that dude, or is it going to be more down to the defense for the Eagles?
Minshew mania. The Eagles don't have a lot to play for, honestly. They can literally take this game off and secure it next week. But if they win this game, they clinch the 1 seed, they clinch the division, they can rest the rest 3 weeks, and that'd be pivotal for Hurts. Minshew has enough in his and as a player, when he was in Jacksonville, mobile, accurate, nowhere near the talent. He has the talent. And I think the Cowboys are still reeling after last week. They overlooked Jacksonville, and there's a saying in the NFL, don't make one loss turn into two. I think you're going to see that in Dallas. They overlooked Jacksonville, and now the beast, the Eagles, are there. The Eagles are going to take – there's not a lot of pressure on the Eagles. They're going to go in Dallas, and I think they're going to win a good game. I think it's going to be close, but I think Dallas is reeling. So, yes, the pressure's going to add on Dallas here in the next couple of weeks, and pivotal game possibly in Tampa Bay for a playoff game at a 4-5 seed matchup. Yeah,
fair enough. I did mention that the Cowboys were looking forward to this matchup when we talked about this last week. Now, you guys did, both DJ and Zach said that there's no way the Cowboys would lose that game last week against the Jaguars. Do you think this is a game where the Cowboys are coming back in reinforced mentally?
Probably a little bit, because at the same time, it's like, okay, we just lost that game. We have to win this game. The desperation seeps in for them as well, too. And they match up weirdly good with the Eagles. They almost beat them with Cooper Rush at quarterback. And now the table's kind of turned with the backup on the other side. I think it'll be weirdly close, but I think the NFL is way too damn linear sometimes. We're almost one from a backup, so I think we're going to see the same story here. And Dak plays really well against the Eagles throughout his career overall, so that's my thinking on it.
Yeah,
fascinating how the storylines flipped in a way for this matchup. Now you have the Eagles on the opposite foot, having to deal with the backup QB coming in and trying to have to play up to a level to help guy to win. Look, the Eagles have a defense that can keep things interesting. You do have a lot of weapons, of course, to keep under wraps, and you have a Dak Prescott that some would argue might be an Achilles heel right now with some of the issues that have been popping up in a bad stretch. My digression, though, comes from, okay, Minshew has a week to come in and kind of get in sync, just like DJ's saying. I'm betting against those odds that he is ready to go with that and being in sync with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But I digress. Maybe the defense for the Eagles pulls this off, and maybe the Cowboys, for some reason, take another off night. I don't think that happens again. I think McCarthy has done a lot better this year, kind of reinforcing that, hey, I am trying to coach these guys up a little bit better than I was last season, and that we try and rebound from bad losses, as we've seen, much like they did against Green Bay's bad loss earlier in the year. I think the same thing happens. They don't let it happen a second time in a row coming off that bad loss against Jacksonville.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's going to take us to the perfect time to get out of here. It's the God, that still just doesn't get old, especially with how cold it is outside.
There's no snow there. It's not accurate.
Oh, it's perfectly accurate, sir. Just imagine just the perfect beach.
It's all the Christmas lights.
Anyways, we're going to head out to, LA for this game. And that's the Rams versus the Broncos. And ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is Rams country, it's our house. Let's ride. The Broncos suck. The Broncos suck, and I don't have to say anymore. They are trash. The Rams have not had a great season by any means, but they are still a better team than the Broncos. I will die on this horse. If this island gets this is the best island pick I have ever had on this show, where I have the best chance to win in this game. And I am still shocked you all went the Broncos. I just need one reason why you guys all went Broncos.
Battle of the mid, somebody has to win.
Russ is back.
That's a reason they should lose.
Well, that's why they're losing.
The Broncos would be playing a home game in LA, so that's why.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rams are a successful away team for a reason. And that's all I got to say. Big show in LA. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you tuning in on this Christmas Eve. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy all the Christmas givings. Enjoy. And if we don't see you, have a Merry Christmas and maybe a Happy New Year if we don't see you by then. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.